All right. So if you can help us let people in, we are ready to go.
They coming.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining us today. So what's everyone doing here today? What's going on here? I think
Good
Perla
morning.
seems to know that we have something going on today.
Hi, good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, doing well. Excited to do the meeting today. Are you guys having issues? Because the Zoom meeting is still not up.
How do you mean?
I dialed on the phone just to make sure that I wasn't missing anything, but I'm trying to connect through Zoom, and it's still saying that the session hasn't been started.
Oh, that's really weird. No, we do have it. Let me drop the link. So that's the direct link. That should be the direct link to the meeting.
Okay, I just refreshed, so it's working now on my end.
Oh, okay, good. All right, and for those of you who are coming in, good morning. Thank you so much for joining us again. We're asking you if you in the chat, you can tell us which community college you are currently attending and which major or majors you're pursuing. And also which of the UCs you're thinking of applying. How many of the UCs are you applying to? All 9 campuses? Are you applying to just a few? Are you applying just to one? We wouldn't recommend that. We strongly recommend that you're applying broadly and that you're applying to multiple colleges as well, not only UCs, Cal State's private schools, even the one that my colleagues Perla and Frank just completed. Well, Frank completed his degree a while back, but Perla just completed her degree just a few months ago. It seems like it was a long time ago already, Perla, but yeah, just a few months ago, completed her degree, her master's at USC, making her one of the brilliants. Okay, let's see what type of, oh, wow. Okay, I see Santa Barbara, Berkeley, San Diego, Irvine. Did any of your peer advisors apply to any other campus other than UCLA? What other campus was your, of course, not first choice, but your second, because we know UCLA was your first choice for a peer advisor, but which one was yours, would have been your second choice? Any of you who are our peer advisors? You don't mind unmuting yourself and telling us.
Hi, my name is Antonia, everyone. So I applied as a math major and I actually SIR'd to UC Davis first.
Mhm.
But then I switched over. But I would have loved to go there. Like beautiful campus, beautiful area. Look,
What
you
attracted you?
still
I mean,
wonder what would have been like.
yeah,
What
UC
happened?
Davis, right, right, very close to Sacramento. Um, very flat, definitely not, there's no hills like here at UCLA. So um, a lot of bicyclists for sure. Anyone else applied to, was considering maybe a different campus other than UCLA for peer advisors or full-time staff as well? Most of us, I think all of us are alums. Um, I know when I got in back in the 1900s, when barely any, well, there was no internet of school was UC Riverside, believe it or not. I had a great campus tour to UC Riverside. I had never visited UCLA until after I was admitted. I see Anthony. Anthony,
So I did apply to a few other UCs, just to diversify my options to be safe. But one of the UCs I was really considering was UC Santa Barbara, because I love the scene that they have, and the student body. The student body they have tends to be very collaborative, and how they do have a focus on undergraduate education because they don't have a lot of grad students.
Yeah, it's a beautiful campus, and even the community college, Santa Barbara Community College, is just a beautiful campus as well. Vanessa?
Good morning, everyone. So I applied to Berkeley, UCLA, UC San Diego, and UC Riverside. And just like Antonia, I also SIR'd to Berkeley once I got the response. But then once I got UCLA's response, then I dropped them real quick.
You should dropping like it's hot. All right. Frank Alicious.
Good morning, everyone. So I applied to 4 UCs. It was UCLA, Berkeley, Irvine, and Riverside. I did get into all of them. One thing that I messed up is I didn't apply for housing for any of them. So UCLA was my first choice anyways. I was able to fix all that during the summer, and I already had a community there. So UCLA was my number one, but Berkeley would have been my second choice.
So you already had couches of people that you knew that you could stay on, huh?
For real, for sure.
All right, so we're gonna get we want to get into the spirit of the PIQs. So for that, of course, for the personal insight question, part of it is telling the folks for reading your application who you are, right? So we're gonna ask you in the chat if you don't mind, as more people are coming in, tell us who you are, and you can answer that question whichever way you all want to. But just who are you? I'm gonna start. I'm going to say, who am I? Damn, that's too early in the morning to be thinking about philosophical existential type of questions. Who am I? All right, let's see. I see, yeah, I definitely see a lot of first gens. That's pretty awesome. Big mental health advocate, all right. A fenter, a product of my family suck. Wow, that's really, wow, that's already shaping up to be a good thesis writer for a PIQ. First gen Chicana student, I'm an immigrant and wow, a pretty young college student, 16-year-old college student. Very good, proud immigrant and first gen. I'm a mujer, daughter, sister, mother, aunt, friend. Wow, Perla's uses were going. She did all kinds of multiple identities right there. That's pretty awesome. I was like having a hard time trying. I mean, I came up with the question. I was having a hard time answering it. Let's see what else. I'm first gen student with a disability. I'm a student. I'm a student tutor and first gen student major in econ. Long-term goal. Let's see, producer. Grad student in the college counseling program, proud Latina, first gen student. That's pretty awesome. Daughter of an immigrant mother. I'm a single mom, Spanish speaker, first gen non-trad student. Wow, we have so much diversity in at the same time so much overlap, intersections as well. This is amazing. This is great. So keep telling us who you are. Who are you? Who are you this morning? I see first gen, immigrant, returning student, mother, wife, business owner. All right. Daughter of a single immigrant mother, low income student, icon. Ooh. Nestor said he's an icon. All right, Nestor, get it. Natalia, I'm a Mexican immigrant. All right. I'm gonna give you a few more minutes, about a minute more to tell us who you are. My name is Mexican student, born Jerez, Zacatecas, raised in LA, California most of my life. My name is, I'm a first gen student, oldest child. Let's see, we have a first gen from Peru, theater major, DACA recipient, trying to figure everything to transfer to UCLA, hopefully. All right, that's great, that's great. First gen Mexican American student, oldest child. I'm getting, let's see, we have a first gen from Peru, theater major. That's my evil twin. Or maybe I am the evil twin.
Sure,
I forget.
Are you sure though?
I know, maybe I'm the evil twin. He's the good twin. I don't know.
Or maybe you're both evil. I don't know.
Well, that's true, right? Huh? Why does one have to be good and the other evil? They can both be evil, or they can both be good.
For real, for real.
All right, so we're gonna switch up now the question for the next 10 minutes before we start the webinar. I want you all to think about and maybe put responses in the chat to this next question. Who do you pretend to be? Who do you pretend to be?
These questions, Santi, geez.
Gotta, you know, we gotta get the tea.
Yeah,
We want another chisme.
the cheese with a 411.
The 411. So who do you pretend to be? Walter White? Straight, okay. Someone who knows what they're doing. Someone who has to figure it out. Someone who acts like he has everything together. I don't, okay. American, not lost, like I have it together. Mariah Carey, all right. Beyonce, Beyonce. All right. Want to be
Don't,
graduate
don't
student.
let, don't let Alfred here.
Selena. Anything for Selena's. An adult. You pretend to be an adult. I do that all the time. A straight student is working. All right, all right. You're calling it into the universe, and is manifesting itself when you call it into the universe. Pretend to be grown, but still have the spirit of a child. Someone who feels comfortable in the identity others perceive me. Okay. Damn, these are some deep responses already up in here. Super successful. Someone who knows what they're doing and doesn't need help. Someone who has everything together. An adult who has it all together. Okay. Someone who has their life together. Someone who doesn't have doubts. Okay, first gen, bilingual college student who works part-time. The siblings pretend to be an inspiring adult. Someone who can never break down. Mask my disability too, okay. Someone who has everything together. A good model for my kids. A successful doctor. Michael Corleone, ooh. Okay, Michael Corleone. We're entering Godfather territory here. What else do you pretend to be? Who else do you pretend to be? I'm gonna, let's put down that I pretend to be stronger, strong, I pretend to be strong. So, definitely the things I sometimes pretend to just be strong, just, try to stay calm, particularly when other people might be not as calm. Sometimes I pretend to be calm, even though I might not necessarily be calm in the inside. Someone who can balance her life and family well, someone who's are together, to be healed from a breakup, okay? Put together even when I'm falling apart, yes. Someone who's trying to educate himself one day at a time and succeed even though life can be stressful sometimes. A confident and strong, positive mujer. Really, it's really great stuff here. Confident and hardworking person. Let's see, what else do I pretend to be sometimes? I most of the time pretend to be outgoing. I pretend to have an outgoing personality. I'm usually pretending to be professional. I often pretend that I'm able to do everything that is put on my plate in terms of task, but that definitely never happens. All right, same here. I'm usually a reserved person that likes to keep to myself. Okay. I pretend to be okay. Yeah. I pretend to be okay too. Paola, you and I can be okay. 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 Wow, content with my relationship. Okay. Pretend to be some celebrity. Pretend to act like I can handle many things at once and not be tired. Yes, yes. I definitely know about that. All right. This is pretty awesome. So before we just jump into the actual beginning of our webinar, I just kind of wanted to ask you, how did that, if any of you want to unmute yourself or tell us in the chat, how did that feel? For you, was one of the questions easier than the other? And in terms of how this relates to, how do you think this relates to the PIQ and the application? So, yeah, so any of you who wants to maybe share a comment or two, you can raise your hand if you want to. But yeah, just how did these two questions make you feel? Was one question easier than the other? And how does this relate to the PIQs and the application? So any of those three questions anybody wants to answer? So Beatriz Rivas wrote, I'm already emotional because these questions are exactly how I feel in writing my PIQ. Okay, very good. Yeah, yeah. Authenticity is key when it comes to the PIQs. It's great. Easier to answer how I see myself instead of who I am. It's really interesting. It makes it hard to write PIQs, yeah. This relates to the PIQs because you have to talk about yourself, yeah. The first step in being comfortable talking about, yeah, definitely. I know that's definitely, you know, it's not like we go around just, always, telling folks who we are, right? So it's not necessarily that we go around and for me, I remember the first time I did this exercise, and I don't know if Frank remembers this, but Frank, when we went to Atlanta for the HSF, I don't know if you remember this, but that was the first time we did this exercise back, I don't even know when. You were a youngster, so was I.
Yeah, back in the day.
Yeah. Back in the day, yep. And I do remember that the one that I had the toughest time answering was the who are you? Just like I couldn't even think about, it was just so weird to be, to think about, yourself and to, think who you are and to be able to put it into words, right? So definitely being able to talk about yourself, being able to share, being able to see yourself in a way that is, you're able to communicate exactly who you are. It can be very difficult for sure. And it can be, I really like the person who said emotional, right? Yeah, because you are definitely, as you are reflecting upon who you are reflecting not on everything that has made you who you are, right? And everything that you have experienced to make you who you are, and everything that you have not experienced also makes you who you are as well, right? So definitely can be as well very emotional as well. And of course, being able to go deep, right? Being able to go, not only that surface of who we show people who we are, but also just go a little deeper into our own dreams, aspirations, and backgrounds, and stories, and relationships, and all of that, right? So so again, just wanted you all to start thinking about these questions. because they definitely relate to how you're not only presenting yourself in the application or in the PIQs, but also, you know, is bringing all of that in this journey as well. Okay, and you know, just being able to honor all of those different experiences, legacies, people who are part of our story, is a lot. So well, we're gonna jump into the webinar. So I want to say thank you all for you know, sharing that information in the chat. Is pretty amazing. I mean, it's already pretty amazing. Already it's a great day, and I look forward to an amazing day today. So let me let's get going with the webinar. So if you didn't know, we're here for the UC application, not USC, not Perla and Frank. No, we're not doing the USC. We'll do that later on, back in December, you know. But right now we're doing the UC application with the and with the PIQs, and this is being tailored for our scholars. You know, so we definitely want to make sure that you get the most out of it today. So and we are recording this, and we will be adding the recordings to the website that we have for this event. And if someone can drop the link of the website, we will not only have the recordings, but also a lot of resources and information in that website, so that, you know, you can have one place where you have all of that as you are doing your application. Okay. All right. Perla.
Awesome. Thank you, Santi. Good morning to everyone. Buenos dias. So for today, our schedule is as follows. It's on your screen. The first session at 10 a.m. will cover the UC application tips, activities, and awards section. So please pay close attention to that part. Session 2 from 11:15, personal insight question overview, required question and question 1, assignments for next week. So just make sure that you pay attention to that too. So everything is important. So just make sure that you also have a pen and paper with you, taking notes, recording, whatever it is that you need to do. Session 3, questions 2 through 7. And session 4, which starts at 2:15, additional comment boxes, the editing process, and questions and answers.
I'll be reading the Land Acknowledgement. The Center for Community College Partnerships, CCCP, at UCLA acknowledge the Tongva peoples as the traditional land caretakers of Los Angeles Basin, Southern Channel Islands, and are grateful to have the opportunity to work for the indigenous peoples in this place. As a land grant institution, we pay our respects to ancestors, elders, and our relatives, relations, past, present, and emerging.
And we do want, for the next couple of slides, we do want to offer a clear warning. Just they do mention violence, and again, just we want to make sure that if you want to take care of yourself, whichever way that is best for you, please do.
Good morning. I will now be reading CCCP's Black Lives Matter statement. To our students and colleagues in the Black community and across the diaspora, we stand with you. You are valued and an important member of our campus and off-campus family. We all need to acknowledge the challenges and work to change them. We must work together as people of color and allies, people who are concerned about our future, to eliminate these systematic disparities. We take a stand today and always because Black lives matter.
Hello, I'll be reading the Stop API Hate. CCCP condemns hateful acts of violence, harassment, and rhetoric targeting Asian Americans, Pacific Islanders, and Desi Americans. Since the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic, there has been an alarming increase in the discrimination and violence perpetuated in the APIDA community. These acts of violence are nothing new. We are disturbed by these xenophobic, racially motivated attacks. CCCP stands in solidarity with all of our students, colleagues, and community partners who experience marginalization and threat.
All right, so now we get to introduce ourselves. So let me see. We're gonna start with Frank.
Morning, everyone. My name is Frank Castorena Jr. I am a program coordinator here at the Center for Community College Partnerships, and I oversee the partnerships between Los Angeles Mission College and Los Angeles Trade Tech College. A little bit about me. I am a first-gen student, transferred from the best community college in LACCD, which is East Los Angeles College. I transferred to UCLA and double majored in sociology and Chicano studies. And then after graduating to UCLA, like Santi mentioned, I did go to the other school, which is USC, so I'm a Brogan, and I got my master's in social work. Welcome, everyone.
All right. I don't think Aurelia is here at the moment, but Ariel?
Thank you, Santi. Good morning, everybody. My name's Ariel. Pronouns are she, her, hers. I'm the program coordinator for CCCP over at West Los Angeles College and LA Southwest College. So shout out to any folks in the building who might be from there. I actually used to be a part of CCP. I transferred from PCC to UCLA and got my bachelor's in psychology. So shout out to any of my PCC and also psych folks. And now I'm working back here as full-time staff. Welcome again. Good morning. And thank you for being here with us this early, or at least it's early for me. So thank you for being here with us this morning and for the whole day. There's a lot of information that you're going to be learning. You're going to be learning a lot about yourself if you haven't already from the questions that Santi had asked. But we're really excited for this. So welcome.
All right, moving along. Perla?
Good morning, everyone. Buenos dias. My name is Perla Partida, and I am the coordinator overseeing our partnerships with Harbor, so go Seahawks, and LACC, so go Cubs. Very proud to be serving y'all. And I, too, am a transfer student. I was able to transfer from Mount San Antonio College, so go Mounties, and was successfully able to transfer over to UCLA. There I majored in Chicana studies with a minor in education. And like Santi said, about 4 months ago, which seems so far away, I graduated from USC with my degree in educational counseling. And I myself identify as a mujer. I'm very proud of that. A mother to an 8-year-old daughter, first gen, non-traditional, all that good stuff. So if you need anything, please reach out to me. I'm so happy for all of you to be here and to see so much excitement and for the next process in your UC application pathway. And we're here to help you. So just let us know how we can serve you.
Thank you, Perla. And Blanca, are you here? Just not sure she's here. Okay. And I'm sorry, Kelly, I just realized I have your title incorrectly in the slide. I'll make sure to change it. But Shelly.
No worries. Hi, everyone. Good morning. Buenos dias. I am Shelly Gonzalez, program coordinator here at the Center for Community College Partnerships, overseeing the East LA College Partnership. So shout out to any Huskies in the room. I was also a transfer student, first gen, daughter of immigrants. I transferred from Santa Barbara City College. So also shout out to anyone from the 805. Shout out to anyone from or joining us outside of LA. Hope you're doing well. Super excited to be here and talk about all things application and PIQs. I know you might be feeling a little nervous about it, but hopefully by the end of today, you will be comfortable and confident and you'll know exactly what you need to do. You got this, we got you. It's gonna be fine. So super excited for today.
Thank you, Shelly. And I think, I don't see Gabi, I don't think either, right? Okay. All right, and my name is CCCP Zoom. No, just kidding. My name is Santiago Bernal. Most people call me Santi. I am an immigrant from El Salvador, came to the US in the 80s. I get to, I've been doing, I was not a transfer student myself, but I've been working with community college transfer students for pretty much most of my life at this point. And it really is at this point something for me, definitely where I want to spend the rest of my life working around issues of community college students, transfer students, students of color, non-traditional students, students who the narrative, the stories that the dominant culture tell us are not supposed to be at places like this, right? But as testament that, you know, what a myth that is, you know, I want to also acknowledge all of the transfer students and honor all of the stories that you all bring that definitely are counter stories, challenge that dominant narrative. So and to really challenge that narrative, we have a lot of our peer advisors here today. So I'm going to ask our peer advisors if you could please write your name, pronouns, the community college you transfer from, and which majors you're completing, minors. Yeah, so just all of our peer advisors, if you don't mind, just sharing that information with all of us in the chat, please. We are very excited that we have close to 50 peer advisors that will be working with us this year, and they are at the heart of what we do. And we hope that as you are here today, that you get to know a number of them, and that they'll be able to connect with you. They'll be assigned to some of you. Some of them will be working with specific communities as well. And again, I think our peer advisors really have continued to make a mark at UCLA and continue to make UCLA the best university that it is. And again, it's definitely because of the perspective, stories, and legacies that our community college transfer students bring to this campus. Right. All right. Okay. And as you are seeing the information that they're sharing, you know, just kind of keep an eye out, you know, in ways in which you may intersect with the stories that they're sharing in the chat. You know, just again, keep an eye out. And even though you will be assigned one peer advisor to work with you throughout the year, know that you have access to the whole team as well. Okay. All right, so we're going to just jump into the meat of what we are want to get accomplished today. Doing the time check. So as we are moving through the sessions, I want to make sure that you are as we are presenting information. If there are any questions that you have, we'll ask you to write those in the chat. Also, you know, just in case we don't get to answer your question, just, you know, write it down and just make sure that, you know, that you have it somewhere, because towards the end of the webinar, we will have an opportunity to try to answer any of those questions we were not able to answer either in the chat in one of the sessions, but towards the end, we want to make sure that we go through all of the information. We do have a lot of information to get through. So again, we want to make sure that we get all of that information to you. And some of the questions you may have may be answered in a later slide or a later session. So again, please do not hesitate to put those questions in the chat. We have a number of our peer advisors and full-time staff that might be able to answer them directly. But if we don't get to answer them, just, you know, again, keep track of them, and we will try to do our best to respond to those questions. Also, a lot of the information, links, resources we are going to add to the website. And if there's new information or new links that we all bring information, right? So if you have some resources and you also want to share those in the chat, please do. Or if you have any other links that you think can be useful to all of us, please share those. Our colleague Daniel Vega is going to also be adding those as we are moving along. So thank you, Daniel, for doing that as well. And I think we are ready to move on. All right, so we're going to start right here. So I want to ask some of our peer advisors who, if they want to take a little time travel to a year ago, 2 years ago, or 3 years ago. How were you feeling around this time? What was going through your mind? How comfortable or how anxious were you feeling about this process? So let me see, who is a new peer advisor coming in this year? Johan, this is your first year, huh?
First fall as a peer advisor, yes.
Okay.
Second year at UCLA.
Second year at UCLA. Okay, so let me look for someone who just started this fall. Any of you who just started this fall in this okay, Ariana and Kang, yeah, can you share a little bit about just a year ago? How were you feeling?
Yeah, absolutely. To be honest, it's a lot, especially because you connect with yourself like deeply to a point where like, oh my God, I did not know this about myself, or like I'm this vulnerable. So the pressure is on for sure. But as you write the PIQs, like you start feeling like, oh my gosh, I have done all this and I have built this and I deserve to come to a UC, you know? So yeah, I mean, the anxiety is there. Like every day it was like I would try to write like at least a paragraph or like 3 sentences and like, okay, I did this. But yeah, it's an everyday work, but you get through it. That's how I did it.
Thank you, Ariana. And Kang.
Yeah, so I just transferred this year, so this is gonna be my first year at UCLA as well. And I still remember this time last year I was super nervous as well. It's like there's so many things you in your head and you really want to do, and like you yes, there's so many things. And the PIQ, like I wrote in the summer, but then every month or every week I just change a little bit, and there was some moments like I just delete the whole 350 words and rewrite everything. And I know that this was a hard time, but as long as you go through it, you will overcome everything. And yeah, it's cool.
No, and definitely, and we want to bring that up because, of course, definitely, it can cause anxiety. Of course, you may be sharing things that are of course great achievements, and also some things that maybe were difficult in your experience, in your journeys, right? So as you are moving along through this, we do want to, of course, connect you with and ensure that you are being supported throughout, right? So not only in terms of getting the UC application and PIQs completed, but also that you are taking care of yourself. We always have to remind ourselves that our well-being, mentally, physically, and in every way, is the most important thing. And nothing should come before that. Okay, so again, as you're moving along this, make sure you're taking care of yourself. And I know, the pandemic is not over. I mean, I know a lot of our campuses are, already to start to be in person. Some of them are hybrid, and some of them are mostly remote. So, there's, it's a lot. It's a lot. And not only are you having to contend with the fall quarter, the fall semester, whatever other responsibilities you have in your life. But in addition to that, this kind of in between at this point, whether you're in person or in remote, and again, that's a lot. So again, please, give yourself some grace that if everything that you're trying to get accomplished doesn't get accomplished right away, or doesn't get accomplished in the time that you wanted it, that you're definitely pushing on and pushing forward. So we commend you for that. All right, so we're going to just jump into the UC application. A lot of this information we gathered from the website that is listed right here. You can also scan the QR code, and let's get going. How many of you have started the application already? All right, so I see a number of you have. Okay, excellent, excellent. Shelly, have you started your application?
I sure did in the year 2006. It still counts.
All right, yeah, yep. Done and done. All right, Shelly. Did anyone encounter any problems just getting that started to begin with? Just, getting the application going. The focus of the webinar is going to be on junior applicants. And what we mean by junior applicants is students who will have completed 60 transferable units by the end of spring 2022. And of course, the focus is, of course, on community college transfer students. So that's mainly what the information that we're providing is geared to students who are community college students transferring as junior applicants. But we do know, of course, that there are some campuses that might admit sophomore students. Those will be students who would have less than 60 transferable units. And we also know that most campuses, I actually want to say all the campuses, but I don't want to say that because I think there's one that under one department admits senior standing students. And I know nursing used to, I'm not sure if it still does, but that most of our campuses does not admit senior applicants. Those will be students who have 80 to 90, depending on the campus, 80 or 90 units or more. And that would include upper division, that includes upper division coursework. So if you are a student who is only taking units, only completed college work at a community college, you do not have to worry about reaching that, that maximum 80 to 90 units or more, because there's no upper division credit at the community college, so you wouldn't, there's no way that you would reach that amount of units by just attending a community college. Now, if you are in the situation where you have taken coursework at a four-year institution, and that coursework included upper division courses, the courses that usually juniors and seniors take, then you do want to talk to an advisor or a UC rep just to make sure that you have not reached that the higher ceiling for some of our campuses, okay? But again, only if you had gone to a four-year institution and taken upper division coursework. Okay, and also if you have completed a number of units, a lot of units at the community college, again, that's not going to, and you only completed those units at community colleges, you don't have to worry about that limit, but you do have to be aware of the financial aid limits that they do apply. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, and the reason why I started with that is because as you start creating your application, right? So you're going to be selecting, and this is the fall 2021, going to include the fall 2022, and you will be selecting transfer applicant, right? So that's someone who's graduated from high school and who has enrolled in a regular session, whether that's fall, winter, or spring, at a college or university. And most of you, I suspect, will be applying as juniors applicant, right? Those are students who will complete 60 transferable units by the end of the spring. You don't have to have the 60 units now, but you do have to have those 60 transferable units by the end of the spring 2022. Okay. And again, sophomore will be someone with less than 60 units, and senior will be someone who has upper division work and has reached that 80 to 90 unit. Okay. And you will know if you have clicked the wrong one, because most majors, most UCs and their majors are open to junior. That's the main type of applicants as transfer. If you get to the question about the campus and you only see very few majors available to you, that's probably because you checked something other than junior applicant. All right. There is, of course, the question about citizenship and residency. My accent is coming out because of the citizenship question here. There is a special instructions on how to fill this out for undocumented students. You can go to the website that's listed here, or scan the QR code, and it will actually walk you through, how to answer some of these questions, and just to make sure that you will, and this is only for the purposes of course, residency in terms of admissions, and residency in terms of tuition. Okay, it's nothing to do with financial aid or any other type of information. Okay. And there is going to be a section where you are going to provide information about your household and your family. This information is basically used for the fee waiver. It's not used for residency nor financial aid. And if you have any, not sure, what they're asking you, if you click on this little icons, it will give you more information about that specific question as well. Again, and we'll get to the fee waiver in a moment, but this section right here basically will determine whether you qualify for the fee waiver or not. In California, residents and undocumented students qualify for the fee waiver, both for the UCs and the CalCs, and some of the privates do as well. And we'll talk a little bit about the fee waiver in a moment. All right, so now you got into that part. Now you get to this part where you get to decide which majors you're going to be applying under. Okay. Let me ask some of you peer advisors or some of you full-time staff, did you select an alternate major when you were applying? Did anyone have your primary major and then also listed an alternate major when you were applying?
Hi, yes, I did. And for UC Santa Barbara, I actually got accepted into my alternate major.
Okay, so do you mind sharing which one was your primary and then your alternate major?
For SB, my primary major was math, and then my alternate major was statistics.
Okay, thank you. All right. does UCLA, do all the UCs consider you for an alternate major? Do they offer an alternate major?
No, they don't. Berkeley is one of them.
Yes, exactly. Berkeley does not offer. So there's some campuses that will not offer alternate majors. So, you know, you're only applying to that one specific primary major. In some of the campuses, even though you'll see the option of an alternate major, doesn't necessarily mean that they will review you under that alternate major necessarily. So UCLA is a good example of that. For the most part, they will review you under your primary major. Which students get to be reviewed under an alternate major? Does anyone know? I'm gonna tap my finger here in my keyboard. That's right, tap students. Not to be confused with the UC tab, but the UCLA tab, UCLA Transfer Alliance program, which is honors designated program. It's not available at all community colleges, but for those community colleges that do offer that honors tab option, and you are certified as a TAP student, you are able to select an alternate major, and you will be reviewed under that major, that alternate major, if someone shared the conditions of us being able to review that alternate major. Is anyone here a top honor students at their campus at this point? Okay, I see a few people. Excellent, excellent. So you can choose an alternate major in the application, but that alternate major cannot be one of the impacted majors, right? And you also will have to have completed the prep that's required for that alternate major as well. And honors tab only works for majors within the College of Letters and Science. And in the College of Letters and Science, there's one major that does not participate in tab. Aaron, do you know what that one is? What that major is? I'm trying to communicate with Aaron, but yeah, communications.
Santi, there's also another question on the chat. I think they want to know the difference between TAP and honors, if there's a difference.
That would depend on the community college. Some community colleges, honors and TAP is one and the same. Majority of the ones that offer TAP, they pretty much combined. But when you say honors, also it can just means, you know, taking a course that's designated as an honors course. It doesn't necessarily mean that you're completing the certification process to be a TAP student, right? Each of the community colleges honors TAP program follows the general guidelines that the UCLA's TAP program has, but then they're able to also tailor that program specifically to their campus. For example, in some campuses, the GPA requirement may be 3.2 or better. In some other campuses, the program may have decided that it's a 3.4 or better. So some of those, the criteria for being certified as TAP will vary depending on the community college that you're attending. And again, just want to mention that not all community colleges have a TAP program on their campus. Hope that answers your questions. So there is going to be in the academic history as part of the application a question about the honors programs at different campuses. So you can notate that information there. But even if you were to miss that, the process of being certified for TAP is done by the folks who are coordinating the program at your campus. So whether it's the honors TAP coordinator, counselors / counselor, they will get a list of all the applicants and would ask them to verify that indeed you will be completing and will be certified by spring 2022 as a TAP student. So even for whatever reason you missed that question, please know that that process is done also, that is actually done by your the folks who manage the program at your campus. You can, again, the application process for TAP differs from campus to campus. Want to make sure that you contact a counselor at your campus so that they can tell you what the process is specifically at your campus. All right. Let's see what else. I also want to mention that not necessarily an alternate major, but also be thinking about if there are any other majors that you might be interested or might strategically think about applying under, right? So as hopefully a lot of you know already, there are many ways to get to your goals, whether that's a career, a specific graduate program, or whatever it is that you're thinking about in your future. Also think about the different ways in which you can get to that, including different majors that might also be a good strategic move for you to apply under, and then again, still get to where you need to get to, okay? In no way, I want you to hear that I'm saying you shouldn't be applying to the major that you want. I just want to make sure that you are considering all the options as well, all right? Gonna move on. I also want to include this information for our veteran students that who may be applying this year as well. A number of things you want to make sure that you are aware of, and there's a website that has also all this information in a lot more detail than what I'm going to provide right now. But of course, if you if you have a military status, whether that's because of your own participation in, or because of connection to someone who has some military experience, you can include that information in the applications. There'll be a question that will ask you that information. If you yourself have been part of the military and have taken courses, to the military, you want to make sure that you provide that information in the application, and that they will ask you for copies of your transcripts as well. And keep in mind that not all courses, actually a majority of military courses are not necessarily transferable unless those courses were offered through some locally recognized, regionally recognized institution. And again, that information you will provide in the application, and then the admission office will, once you've been admitted, will ask you for transcripts from that information. One other thing you want to make sure that you know is that you can include information that you feel is pertinent in any of the PIQ questions in terms of your both military status and experiences that have shaped, that you feel have shaped you, and that you want to make sure that you are also highlighting. And then lastly, there is a number of benefits that are associated with the status. You want to make sure you're aware of those, that information. For our campus at UCLA, we're very lucky to have Dr. Emily Ice, who actually this summer helped us with our veterans webinar. So I included the website is listed right here, and you can reach us, and we can also connect you with her as well, right? All right. A very important aspect of the application is being able to include very accurate information in terms of academic history. So the way that the university will review your application is what we call through a holistic process. And what that means is that they're going to be looking at a number of things in your application, right? They're going to look at your academic achievements. They're also going to look at both your life and experiences and the context in which you have achieved all of these different academic and personal achievements. They're also going to review your PIQs, right? So all of this will be part of the selection process. So the first part they're going to look at is going to be your academic, what we call your academic history. That includes all the colleges and institutions that you have attended after graduating from high school, right? So in this section, you want to make sure you're including all of that information of all the institutions, what we call post-secondary institutions, where you have taken college credit. So, and basically the way that we kind of view this is that if there is a transcript available for any of these institutions, then that information has to be included in the academic history. If you already have a transfer admission planner, you have already, it's up to date, you have it, it's all the way up to the spring of 2022. You can transfer all of that information into your application. They do recommend that once you have transferred that information, that you double check that it transferred correctly, and that nothing, that there wasn't any missing information or information that transferred incorrectly. And the information that say that you updated it today, it will not be reflected on the same day. So like if you try to transfer it to, if you enter it today, updated it today, and then you try to transfer it, it will not reflect those changes you may have made today. And again, once you have transferred that information, you'll have an opportunity to make any edits or corrections that you need to. Let's see. One other thing that we want to mention is that in the college information, right, when you're entering that information, there's going to be a question that's going to ask you about the term system for that campus, whether it's, in the quarter, semester, and there is an option for those of you who have what we call winter intersessions that says semesters with winter intersessions. So if you are attending or if you have taken courses during winter in your semester school, you want to make sure you're selecting that option. Otherwise, it won't give you the option to enter courses during the winter. See? So even, for example, Pasadena City College, which up to last year had a winter intersession, if you took courses during winter in the past, even though this year they're not offering a winter intersession, you still will select that option so that you can enter whatever coursework you may have taken during the winter. Right? I think that's all. Any other comments from our either peer advisors or full-time staff?
Santi, there is a question on the chat, and maybe you can briefly talk on it. It says, do I need to include courses taken at universities abroad that I attended prior to enrollment to a community college here?
Yes, yes. Thank you for that question. Yes. So, yeah, anything that was college and where there is a transcript or some type of record available or supposed to be available, then that does need to be entered in this section right here. Now, you may know, and you may have already the information that maybe that institution is not an accredited institution, or that is not designated as an institution that where the university will take any credit from, and that's fine. But you still will need to enter that information. An evaluator who has international experience will be able to ensure that if we need further information, or if there's credit to be given, they will follow up on that process. But on your part, you just want to make sure you are reflecting exactly the information that they're asking you for, which is, again, any coursework that you have taken at a institution, a post-secondary institution. You need to include that information in this section. That also means that whatever courses appear in any transcript that you're able to get, or that you're supposed to be able to get, needs to also be included in this section. So once you enter the coursework, whether the coursework is transferable or not, if it appears in your transcript, you want to make sure you're also entering that information in this section. Shelly, I see your hand.
Yeah, I was just going to co-sign and really highlight this point. I've actually have worked with students in the past that did not list courses from a university they attended in a different country, and the UCs will pull receipts. So if there's a receipt out there with any course that you've ever taken, just list it. They will find the receipt, they will pull the receipt. And unfortunately, that might have a very negative impact on you and your admission process, but just be fully transparent, just be honest, the good, the bad, the ugly, just put it on there. The universities will find out. They have like resources, and they will find out, and they will find it, and they will pull the receipt. And so just don't do it. Just list it all.
Thank you for saying that. And that what I noticed as I was doing my test fake application this year is that at the very beginning, that I think it was called something, the principles or something, but that is asking you to that you are supposed to provide an honest, accurate, to the best of your knowledge, information in the application, because it is a legal document, and any information that you purposely leave out can be considered fraud. So again, nobody has time to be dealing with fraud. So just enter the information. I know some of it you may be hesitant because for whatever reasons, but the best policy is just to include everything, and to have them, someone will evaluate that information. And again, in terms of the way that we review applications, we look and give more weight to the coursework that is more recent, and that is meeting the requirements that we're asking you. That doesn't mean that we just ignore the other information, but at the very least, that that's something that the university will do, is give more weight to that most recent coursework. Okay. Any other comments? Let's see how we're doing with time. Okay. All right. Again, as I mentioned, fee waiver based on that section on the household. At this point, if you qualify, it will automatically let you know that you are qualified. It will let you know that you can apply up to 4 campuses. If you do apply to more campuses than those 4 that you get to the fee waiver, you will have to pay the difference after that. But the 4 campuses, they are free if you qualify for the fee waiver. And then lastly, well, depending on the major and the UC that you have applied to, keep in mind that there may be supplemental applications that you need to complete as well. And for all of the campuses, they are going to send you what's called a transfer admission update sometime in late December, early January, asking you to update your grades for the fall and update and notate any changes for the winter intersession and spring. Usually it's due January 31st, and failure to do this part of the the transfer admission, not the failure to update that information at the very least once by the deadline will stop the process of your application. Okay, so you want to make sure you do this, make sure you are on the lookout for this, and that you get it done by the deadline. All right, so before we jump into the PIQs, I really like to review the information in the activities and awards, because I think this is another section where you can have an impact on how the reader, the person who's reviewing your application would look at the information you including here. In addition to that, I think it's a good way to kind of have a list of all the different things you've accomplished, whether that's through awards, or all the different categories that are asked in this section. It's just a really good way to have that kind of like overview of all the different things you've done. And then from that, you may be able to then more easily decide, okay, this is something that maybe I want to expand upon in the PIQs. So if you need a list of all the things you've accomplished, this is the place where it needs to be. Definitely what usually, actually, the PIQ, in the PIQ section, we definitely don't necessarily want a list. As a matter of fact, that's not going to give that insight. In that section, we want more depth. In this section is where we are able to have that list of all the different things and the many things you may have accomplished. Okay, so again, that's where the list belongs. All right, so for as a scholar or program, I just saw SCOI, CCP SCOI. Okay, as a scholar, you're able to select and be part of our program under educational prep programs. And you will scroll down and you'll see it right here. It's UCLA Community College site. That's the program that will designate you as a CCP scholar as well. And again, all the UCs, we all know about the different programs that are specific for campuses and that are part of what we call the transfer prep programs statewide. And by notating that, the other campuses, as well as UCLA, will know that you're one of the scholars. Okay. Again, under activities and awards, educational prep programs, there'll be a list, and in that list, you will select UCLA Community College site. Okay. What else do I want to say about this? There's a number of other programs here that you can also include, like Mesa, like Puente, Umoja. If there's a program you participated that's not listed in here, then you will select the option of other, and they just enter the name of the program that you participated in. For example, UCLA Stump is not listed in here, but if you were part of the conference, you can add it as other and enter the name of the program in the specified section. All right, so in terms of this section, you are able to include information. Basically, they're looking for information in terms of things you accomplish or participate in outside of the classroom. You're able to list up to 20 different activities and awards. there's no minimum or maximum under any of the categories. You can list as many in one section, but the total maximum that it would allow you to do is 20 activities in hours total. Okay. And if you have more than that, what you want to make sure you're doing, that you're selecting the ones that have the most impact, where that you feel have a real long-lasting or that are more sustained throughout the years. Those are the types of activities that would have a little bit more weight. We are definitely, if you have the option of having more than 20, definitely select the ones that are, college. Definitely those are the ones that are going to have a little bit more weight as well. Also, I want to mention that for transfer students, we don't necessarily have an expectation that you should have all kinds of extracurricular activities. We do understand that transfer students' experiences are very different and varied. And for some students, you may be working while going to school, and you may be working a lot of hours full-time in some cases. We don't necessarily expect for the students to have a whole bunch of other extracurricular activities, because in essence, your work is your extracurricular activity. Again, for transfer students, there's definitely not necessarily an expectation that you must have extracurricular activities. But if you do, and if you have been involved, please make sure you include those as well. Ooh.
What happened?
Oh no.
Why am I on the screen?
Yes, it's all about Shelly. Hey, it's all about me.
Okay. Well, actually,
My bad.
And Shelly,
trying to centralize myself in these PIQs.
the Shelly IQs.
on the phone. Okay. It got tired. It just said, I can't take it no more.
I feel that.
All right, so in them, as I am trying to repair the PowerPoint, the powerless point, why don't some of you talk about, particularly some peer advisors talk about some of the activities that you did include in your application, and the way that you included them and how you talk about them. Give me a sec.
I want to answer one of the questions real quick in the chat in terms of description and how to talk about the program and being involved in the program. What I recommend is that you, again, center yourself and talk about what you gained from the program, what you experienced, how it supported you, what it helped you develop. So don't leave anything blank. But don't just give us like the mission statement or the program description off the program website, but really talk about yourself, like how you benefited, what you gained. I experienced, I was supported by this, because that's also an opportunity to elaborate more about the things that you've experienced and how you've enhanced yourself as a student. By being an active participant in these different activities and programs and things like that. Ariel?
Yeah, so I wanted to just touch on, there's also another question in the chat regarding if you could list high school activities, and Santi kind of touched on this, or began to before everything happened. But so you can list high school activities, but the thing is that like we mentioned, when you're doing the extracurricular and activities and ward section, make sure to list everything that's most current. So for example, if you're doing some things that are like in 2021 or like the most recent thing you've been engaging in, list that, like, so by like 2021, 2020, 2019 or whatever. And then because you have like 20 slots to list some stuff, if you do get to a point when you're like going back, if you get to a point where you're like, okay, now I listed all of my college stuff, maybe I could list like this high school award or something, you can do that. But again, make sure that it's something that's like significant and it holds weight, kind of like what Santi was saying. And I did that when I applied. I listed some high school stuff in there, but I did it after the fact, and when I acknowledged that I had enough space and that it held weight and everything. I did it after the fact that I listed all of my college stuff. So yeah.
Okay, almost there. Sorry, I don't know what happened, but it's opening now. So
yeah, I was gonna just make a quick comment. Y'all try not to leave, don't leave it blank. I had a student come in like moments before the application was due, and they left the activities blank, and I was like, oh, like you haven't done anything, or like, I tried to phrase it like, what have you been doing? And they were like, oh, I worked at this place for this many years, I've been doing this and that. And for some reason they thought like, oh, it had nothing to do with my major, so I didn't put it in there. And you want to put that in there. Like, you want to put all that stuff in there, because otherwise it's just blank. So try and put something in this section.
all right, I think it is.
Yeah, I want to jump in on that. And second, what Sophie said, try not to leave anything blank. But regarding the high school question, I think one like unique scenario you could approach is if like something you were involved in high school, you continue to do after high school. Like, I think that would be really great to include, because it shows that, your commitment to something. So for example, like I was kind of like a volunteer for my high school's volleyball team. Like when I wasn't in season, I was helping the girls volleyball team with practice. And then after I graduated, I continued to help them while I was going to community college. So something like that to consider, like something you started like volunteering for in high school and then you continued to throughout community college would be something I would include. And I think you could approach the application regarding high school in different ways. I decided not to include my high school activities because I felt like my community college experiences could speak for themselves, but it is subjective and it really is up to you. But I want to emphasize quality over quantity, as the first slide said. So yeah.
All right, and I think we're back. All right. I think it's, it hit 11. Isn't it break time? All right, so here's the description of the categories: awards and honors, education prep programs, extracurricular activities, other coursework. And that one, other coursework, is really only for sophomore applicants who have to include high school information, including any other coursework besides the A through D requirements during high school. So for most of you, you will not need to fill out that information. Volunteering and work experience. And again, where honors are things that, you have either applied for or you are being, what I want to say, noted for, whether that's through your school or anywhere else. You want to include those as well. Ed programs are things that, of course, are helping you get to your goals. The volunteering are things that you're doing for someone else without getting paid. Work experience is, something that you're doing that you are getting paid. And then the extracurricular activity is basically everything else that, you're unable to fit in any other categories. The other thing I want to say about the categories is that they're kind of fluid. If you, for whatever reason, think that maybe one of these things is more of a volunteer and less of a extracurricular, it doesn't really matter how you are going to categorize them. I think as long as you include the information, if you, for whatever reasons, include it in the wrong category, nothing bad is going to happen. Okay, so don't stress too much about that aspect of this. And then lastly, even though most of you will not be asked to provide any proof of any of this information in here, there are somewhere around 7 to 10% of applicants who randomly will be selected for verification. And that means that, they may ask you, for this activity, we need to get, some proof. Again, most of you will not, but keep in mind that, again, you just want to be as truthful as you can. And, and if they ask you for the information, that you're able to provide it as well. Perla?
Yeah, I just wanted to include something that I know I was worried about when I was applying as a parenting student, because obviously y'all know that when you're a parent, your amount of things that you put in here is very limited. And although, you don't want to freak out about that, there's things that you should put on here that you probably don't. And it's something that I did. And it was for the extracurricular activities, was like tutoring my daughter, helping her with her schoolwork. That's something that you're also doing aside from doing, your schoolwork in general. So don't forget, for my parenting students out there, that you can also put that's extra stuff that you're doing on top of your studying, on top of working, on top of all that. So don't forget that part. It's very important that you're also trying to educate and teach and help with the homework and cook and all this other stuff with your kids. That's like extra stuff that you're doing. So just an FYI.
Most definitely. Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that, Perla, for sure. Yes. Don't undersell yourself. Don't underestimate the things that you are doing. Just keeping, I think Perla said it, really well. Just, all those other things you're doing that are responsibility in so many different ways. Of course, you're doing for someone else, but also that are giving you, for example, leadership as well. So definitely, Shelly?
Yeah, I was just going to echo that. I usually tell students that are having a hard time answering some of these questions is, besides getting up and going to class, what else is part of your day? What else is part of your week? How else are you spending your time and your energy? Look at your planner. What have you been involved in? What's important to you? Because that's really what the purpose behind this section is, besides being just a student, what else is part of your life? What else is important to you? How active are you? What are you engaged in? And so really kind of do that exercise of thinking, how else you spend your time? What else are you involved in?
Thank you. Yeah, no, that's a really good way of kind of deciphering what you've been doing in the week. Look at your planner. Look at all the different things you've done. I think that's a really good good tip for folks. All right, so awards and honors. This section, of course, is asking you what have you been awarded, what type of honors have you received, either because the school or someone designated you as someone who should be awarded or be honored, or because you apply for it, right? So that can include scholarships, right? Again, as Shelley mentioned and a couple of other people mentioned, in this section, it's going to ask you, what were the eligibility requirements for the award and honors? And what I highly, highly encourage you to do in this section is to change everything to I statements. So instead of describing the program or the requirements or, any of the information that they're asking you here, besides the name, of course, yeah, you want to put the name, but the other, these other boxes where you are able to add a little bit more, try to write everything as an I statement. So instead of saying, I don't know, the Dean's Award is for students who get a 3.5 or better GPA, listed in a way that would say, I had to obtain a 3.5 GPA in order to receive this recognition. And, you may even want to add, how much effort you had to put into getting the type of GPA that was required for this recognition, right? So again, you want to make sure that this is where you're able to stand out, right? What we do know, and just as some of us who have read applications in the past, most students, you can almost tell that they cut and paste from the website, because even the little the same mistake that may be in the website appears in, in what in the paste, right? So, and so if someone is just entering that information, it's fine. I mean, it's not bad. It's not something negative in itself, but it's not also something that's going to help you stand out, right? So if you are listing this award, again, the Dean's List, we all know what it is, but if you're put it in a way that you come through in this information, then what you're doing is ensuring that whoever's reading this is going to, just see you a little more than just the generic information that you can provide. So yeah, as you're doing this section, try to write everything in I statements. Okay, I think that part. Ed programs, as I mentioned, are programs that are helping you achieve your academic goals. Again, write them in a way that you're doing it I statements. So for example, if you are part of our scholars programs, you can include the information in here where you're describing the program in terms of the things that you have to do. You have to be here on a Saturday all day long listening to this dude talk about the application, and I know that was painful for all of you. So make us feel that pain. No, but really, I mean, definitely what we want is to see this is a commitment that you're making. I mean, not everyone is making this commitment to be here from 9:30 to 4 p.m. To get this information. You are making that extra commitment. You're making that extra effort to get everything and to understand everything to the best of your knowledge. So, I mean, that's quite an accomplishment. Again, you could be doing all kinds of other things. I'm pretty sure that some of you have other responsibilities as well. You can just be resting as well, right? So you want to make sure that the effort, your commitment, all of and what you're gaining from it comes through in the way that you describe the program, right? So when when you mention, you can just say, they did webinars, I mean, that would be fine. But if you tell us what you have to do in order to be part of these webinars, you are going to come through. And again, it's going to make an impact on whoever's reading this application. I know sometimes we get a lot of questions about, how much time did you spend in the program? You can just average it. It doesn't have to be exact. Sometimes it's a little hard because it's not, necessarily every week or what have you. Just, think about all the different activities that you're going to have to do. And if you have any questions about this section, in particular with our program, just let us know, and we'll help you with this process as well. And we'll talk a little bit about the application assistance launches that we'll start having towards the end of this month, early October. Okay, let's see it right here. Okay, extracurricular activities, as I mentioned, any other activity that didn't fit in any of the categories. These are things like sports, it can be church, it can be hobbies, practice. So all those other different things that, again, you may be doing. If you're in, in social media and you're a social influencer, you want to list that information in here as well. I mean, I don't know, somewhere you might be. I know I try to be, but yeah, that takes a lot of effort. What else is in here? Let's see. And I also think, oftentimes when we think in this section of activities and awards, we're always looking for those very formal ways in which we participate, but there are also very informal ways in which you may participate as well in different things, whether, maybe that's not an organization, but, maybe you yourself created an activity. I don't know, during the pandemic, you created just information that you share with your community about staying safe. Again, it was not necessarily something that's done through an organization, but you took it upon yourself to inform family, community about how to stay safe. It doesn't have to be through an organization. If you spend time and energy on doing it, then that can be also included in here as well. Volunteering, again, is those things that you do for someone else. And again, as Perla mentioned, they don't have to be in that formal type of setting, like, or you have to go to a tutoring service and then provide a tutoring to someone else. It can be, family that you were helping as well. It can be grandparents that you were assisting on a daily basis to do their, day-to-day type of things. It can be anything in which you are not getting paid to help someone else. So that's just the way you want to kind of think about it. Are you doing anything regularly, or once in a while, that where you are helping someone else but you're not getting paid for it? Then you can include it in this section. And then work experience is anything that you're doing that you are getting paid for, right? So again, I know a lot of times, well, a lot of us do have to work and have had many different work experiences, maybe even more than 20 that are the maximum here. So if you want to, of course, select the ones that you feel are impactful. And then sometimes we don't have a lot of this work experience. Maybe we had just a few of these things, and you want to kind of like, you want to align it to your future interests, and you're like, well, it doesn't really align. So what I usually recommend students to do here is to think about not necessarily something that's exactly like what you want to do in the future necessarily, but think about the type of skill sets that are transferable to future discipline or career, right? So, pretty certain you don't have a work experience being a psychologist at this point, but you may have experience in the sense of helping others with, being able to find mental health resources, right? Again, you don't necessarily have to, or you're working in retail, and one of the things you have to do is making sure that you are making whoever comes through to the store welcome and pay attention to them, right? So again, those can be transferable skills that you can use towards a discipline or a career. And then again, this section is only if you're applying as a sophomore applicant. This is again coursework beyond the A2G requirements that you may have taken as well. And I think that's it for this section. Yes. All right. I know I went through fast. Are there any questions? You can put them in the chat. And now we're running a little behind. Well, a lot behind. But we're gonna stop right here, and we're gonna let's take. Well, I definitely need a 10-minute break. We'll come back at 11:30, and try to step away from the computer, stand up, or anything that can help you in terms of this Zoom fatigue. Okay. Yes, definitely working out, lifting is an extracurricular activity. Yep. All right. All right, so we'll be back at 11:30.
Ali, what are you doing in the street?
Get out.
All right, all right, all right. How's everyone doing? You doing okay? How we doing, Perla?
We're doing great.
All right.
We're
all right.
learning.
Where Perla's gonna join me in this section where I'm gonna be like asking her a few things in terms of what she's done in this aspect of the application when she was a student, but I also want to ask her a little bit about when she applied to be in the position that she's in now, because I think it relates to what I want to share with you all. So we're gonna get to know a little bit about her process, about how she prepared for the for both interviewing and applying for jobs, because this, in a way, the PIQs are very similar to that interview, or to that applying to a position of employment. Okay. All right. So we're going to talk a little bit about just before we get going with just the actual questions. And I know you're like, I came here for those questions, but I kind of want to give you we want to give you a little bit of understanding why there are questions to begin with. So again, I keep on kidding about my long history here at UCLA, in the 1900s, and but it's no lie. I mean, I've been here for quite some time. I actually work at the admissions office as an undergrad. So I was an undergrad student worker at the admissions office. And my job, actually, my first office job that I ever had was to do filing. So I used to file all the paper applications that we received. I had so many paper cuts, you wouldn't even believe it. But yeah, that was my job, filing those applications, alphabetizing them. That was my the application for the job was, they gave me all these different files and they said, can you alphabetize this? And I guess I was able to, so I got the job. And that's what I did my freshman year here at UCLA. So I say all of that to tell you that I've seen the application evolve, as from back then when it was a paper application to now an online application. And back then, what we used to ask students was, just tell us something about yourself that you think that we should know. I mean, that was literally the question back in the day. And, very open, students could write pretty much whatever they wanted to. And as someone who, again, got to work in the admissions office, I used to read some of those or some of the evaluators will, share some of the ones that they found really interesting, either in a good way or in a bad way, a lot of times in a bad way, because it was just too broad, So you could write anything and students wrote anything. I do remember, I always share this story, that there was the one essay that was 2 words long, and it was admit me. That was all that essay said, and that student was not admitted. And again, that's the broadness of the question didn't elicit the type of responses that would help someone in the admissions office find that response valuable or useful. Then in 2008, we developed the 2 prompts. So there was the question for transfer applicants was developed that focused more on the major, right? So, and then there was the second prompt that was for both freshman and transfer, which still was that broad question, tell us about a person of quality, talent, accomplishment, contribution, or experience that's important to you. So again, still, with the prompt number 1, we actually found that we were getting the type of responses that we wanted, right? But with prompt number 2, we were still getting those type of information that were not necessarily that could be useful. And for example, I remember this very clearly with a student that I was working with at Pasadena City College, who wrote about, an experience, as we asked there, about, how he hadn't been in California, had been born and raised in California in Altadena, and had never been to the beach. And then he wrote about just this one day that he decided to go to the beach. And then, halfway to there, he decided maybe I shouldn't go to the beach. And then eventually he ended up at the beach. And that was all. There was nothing more to it, just describing to us the experience of going to the beach. And again, was something that was not really useful. That's, didn't give us anything that could be useful or of value in the admission process, right? So in 2017, we introduced the personal insight questions, which were developed in essence to get more of the responses, that could be used, that could be valuable, that could add more context to the rest of your application, right? So what you notice from before 2008 to the present is that the questions have become more and more specific, right? They are more and more narrowing and asking for something very specific from the applicants. And in the same way, you kind of want to think about your responses. Your responses, if they go too broad, are going to be too generic. And really the way you want to think about this is, how can I make my response more focused, more specific to my own experiences? But also you don't want to go too much overboard where, you're describing 10 minutes of your life and that's all you're doing, right? So you want to be able to give us a better understanding of the context of who you are, what you've experienced, and again, what you aspire and dream and all of that, right? So again, I show you this because I want you to understand that we're not looking for broad, generic responses. We're looking for specific responses. So I want to ask you, Perla, when you were applying, or when I think you may have applied for more than one job at some point or another, what kinds of things did you do in order to apply or to prepare for, if you did prepare for the interview?
That's a great question. Well, like any interview, first and foremost, you have to prepare yourself first mentally, right? Because you're going to embark in this journey where you might face rejection, you might face acceptance, right? So first and foremost, getting ready yourself mentally, carving out the space to do this, because just like a job interview, applications are also like a job because you need time to do them, right? So knowing that you have to have some time to do all that. And investigation and research. You have to make sure that you're prepared to where you're applying and research the company, research the school. What is their mission statement? What types of students are they catering or they want in their institution or at the job? What are they looking for? So you have to do all of that way before, right? Even initially beginning. So there's like a pre-work that you have to do before you even get to the whole, let me go ahead and apply. Does this institution or this job fit where I want to be? That's a big one, because like any job or school, it's like you're going to be there, you're going to spend time there. Do you really fit in with what their morals and their values and their mission statement is? So you have to do your research first. So that's some of the stuff that I used beforehand.
That is so awesome. Yeah, I love that. I actually love that first part of it, just getting in that mental state, where rejection can be a possibility. I think I really love that what you said right there, because I think in so many ways our culture is all about just winning, 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 right? So they prepare us to like just get and just but we know that that doesn't always happen, and I think being able to prepare yourself for rejection is such a good advice, because it really allows you to almost be not invincible, but just be ready for the news not to be so good, but at the same time you're still moving forward, right? So I really love that. I really, really, really love that. And of course, they're spending the time, and of course, the investigation and research, right? Finding out what the company is all about. So I think, very similarly, you have to do the same thing for the schools that you are applying to. You do need to know, well, what is the school all about? What is, are they all about, just like, getting my money and then just, not doing anything else, what are they all about, right? So that's really important, right? So if you're going to apply to, if you're going to go apply to be a barista at Starbucks, you're not going to, go in there and say, well, I really only like, I don't like Starbucks. I really just like Press Cafe or, some other Intelligentsia Cafe. And that's not what you're going to go do in an interview, right? You are going to cater that information, or you're going to cater the responses specifically to the place that you're applying to, right? So very much in the same way, you want to make sure you're doing that. You want to ask yourself, well, what is this personal insight questions all about? Why do they have them to begin with? Do you know why we have these questions to begin with? So it is a selection tool, right? That's exactly what these questions, this part of the application is one more tool for the universities to be able to select the type of students that they want to have at their campuses, right? Besides was the boxes that where you can put all your grades and all that information, this is the section where they're going to beyond just what everybody does. Everybody has to take classes. Everybody's going to have grades, right? But this part is really allowing the student to tailor that information and to make it unique to their own experience, right? So, in doing that, those who are reviewing the applications, I was one of them. God, again, a long time ago, and let me tell you, it was a brutal process also for the people who are reading this application, because you have to be able to read. They will tell us you need to complete this many applications on a day, and this is what you need to get out of that section of the application, right? So it's really important that that it's real people who are reviewing this application, and they will get tired of reviewing, and after hearing, the one essay that I just remember this constantly will reappear and reappear is the essay about the sports metaphor. The one where is the game. They're about, they're either about to lose the game or they're about to win the game, and and there's been a study actually done recently, about 5 years ago. There was a study done that the sports metaphor is the one that's most used in college essays. And not to say that it couldn't be written. It can definitely be written, but it's just constantly appearing. You need to make sure that it appears in a way that is fresh, right? But anyways, and say all of that so that when you are writing this, keep that in the back of your mind, that real people are going to be reviewing this, and that you want to make sure that you have done that prep work that Perla talked about, right? So that you're making it easier for that person to get the information that they need, so that they can give you that additional consideration when you're applying, okay? One other thing I want to mention is that most of the applications that are reviewed as undergrad are not reviewed by the departments, okay? So at the graduate level, I think both Frank and Perla, who applied, who went through that process, they were those applications went directly to the department. Someone in the department, probably some faculty members, read some of those applications, but the majority of undergraduate applications are not read by the department. Some are, but the majority are not. And what that means is that someone in the admissions office, like I was at some point, will read an application for a student who's applying to cognitive science, to English, to physics, to sociology, to gender studies. So I was reading all of the applications from different disciplines, which meant that sometimes students who, I remember this one from a physics department that included all these kinds of equations, and I just did not understand half of, what the student wrote because I'm not from that department, right? So, and all that to say that, of course, you do want to make it tailored to your major, but not so much that someone who's not in that major wouldn't understand, okay? You need to make it accessible enough for someone who's not in the major. Now, if you know that for sure your department is going to read it, then, you still want to make sure you make it not too specific that only someone who's an expert on that field would understand it, right? And then lastly, I think, what Perla was saying was right on point, that you need to know what the company is all about. You need to know what the university is all about. So Perla, how would someone know what the University of California is all about? What kinds of resources do you think would be good for them?
Well, honestly, it all starts with visiting the websites. What you see, the programs that they host and they have at their campuses, that gives you an idea of who the school cares for. Unfortunately, that's how it is, because obviously it's going to be all around. So they have a veteran center, parenting center, a multicultural center, whatever it is. That's the type of student, and also the mission statement. It tells you right there and there what their goal is, who they're trying to cater to. So that's extremely important, is to go to the mission statement, and not to throw my graduate application process in the mix, but it kind of relates, because in the graduate personal statements, they tell you how do you fit in their mission statement, or how can you make it better. So that in itself is also powerful, and make sure that you read that mission statement.
Most definitely. No, I'm glad you mentioned that, and that's like so important, right? All the institutions, all educational institutions have a mission statement, and definitely you want to make sure. And for us, it would be the overall mission statement of the University of California, which, I was an English major, so I just love the way it was written. You can tell it was someone who was very poetic who wrote it. It's nice. I read it and I'm like, oh, I want to go back to school. But then I remember papers and finals, and I'm like, no, I don't want to go back to school. But no, it's really an amazing, inspiring mission, and really talks about, the values of the university. So when you are responding to those personal insight questions, you want to respond to those questions in a way that aligns with that mission, that aligns with what's valuable for the university. So for example, that student who wrote about going to the beach, it sounded like a, nice experience for this young man. I'm glad that he eventually, went to the beach. He should have invited me, it would have, it would have been great. But, what does that have to do with the university, right? The student was not able to connect. Now, if the student was able, maybe would have been able to connect it to something that the university found valuable, right? Maybe it was that research or innovation. This is something I never done. This is, you know, and I found, you know, the seawater is salty, you know, that would have been just, you know, something that's related to research, right? But, you know, just going to the beach for the first time ever after 18 years in California, I don't know, this, I don't know what to say about that. But so, and so we have, you know, we do have the website here, and part of the mission is here. I don't know, does somebody want to read that mission? I just love hearing that, this mission. Like, I just want to be like, oh, that sounds nice. Can someone read it for us? I don't know, Perla, do you want to read it?
Yeah, I can go ahead and read it.
Okay.
UC's mission. The distinctive mission of the university is to serve society as a center of higher learning, providing long-term societal benefits through transmitting advanced knowledge, discovering new knowledge, and functioning as an active working repository of organized knowledge. That obligation, more specifically, includes undergraduate education, graduate and professional education, research, and other kinds of public service, which are shaped and bounded by the central pervasive mission of discovering and advancing knowledge.
Pervasive. It's pervasive. It's just, and you know, I mean, how many times do they mention knowledge in this here? Like knowledge, right? And is not only the creation of knowledge, it's also the distribution of knowledge, right? So, so think about that, you know, when you are part of this institution, you are not only coming here to get knowledge. You bring knowledge, first of all, to begin with, right? And then secondly, you're going to create some other knowledge. But by the mere fact that you're here, you're going to be creating some new knowledge. And that new knowledge is going to be distributed, you know, throughout society, right? So, I made it, you know, the three things, what we call the three pillars of the university, right? Is teaching, research, and public service. And, you know, they're mentioning here about, you know, all those different things, right? Of course, teaching, because, I mean, that's how we obtain some of this knowledge. But research is, you know, discovering that new knowledge, and that can be in any of the fields that you may be interested in. And then, you know, putting that teaching and putting that research into practice, right? You know, it's not just for, you know, for it to sit somewhere in a library and no one ever gets any benefit from it, right? So it really is about being able to use that knowledge to advance and to solve some of the problems in our society, right? So teaching, research, public service, keep that in mind. And as you are writing those PIQs, you want to align at the very least to one of those pillars, right? Maybe it's the teaching, maybe it's the research, maybe it's the public service, but you want to align what you write in your PIQs to the mission, to the values of the university. Anything else, Perla?
No, I think you covered it all. I think that it's super important to know, again, who your audience is and what they believe and what they want. And it all describes it here in the mission statement.
All right, so these are some of just, you know, some of the things that I think you already know. There's hopefully, right? There's one required question. And there's going to be 3 more questions you need to respond to that you can choose from the other 7 questions that are part of the 8 PIQs, right? Maximum word 350 words. And when you're given, you know, the max, of course, there's no minimum. So there's, you know, you may notice that there is no minimum. But of course, you know, if they're giving you the opportunity to write, you want to get as close to that 350 as you can, right? Really, you know, writing 50 words when you had the opportunity to write 350 words is not going to necessarily, first of all, give us a really insight into your, you know, into your experiences. But secondly, it's going to show that, you know, you're not really trying, right? So, you know, I would say, you know, get as close as you can to that 350. There's no one question is more valuable than the other. So, you know, you can choose. I mean, they have been done in this way, so you can choose whichever one you feel is going to be more aligned with what your own life experiences may be. And I think, okay, yeah, I think that's pretty much from this page. There is this document that you can download as well that gives you a little bit of you know, saving for the questions, plus it gives you a little bit some exercises that you can do, some brainstorming exercises that you can do for each of the questions. So I highly recommend that you get this document. It's a great document. And what I also recommend is that before you decide which of the other which 3 other questions you're going to choose from the other 7, at the very least, you know, quickly brainstorm each of the questions, like try to answer each of the questions, because I see you nodding, Perla, so tell me why you're nodding.
I'm nodding because I definitely agree. I feel like you need to make sure that you read each question and that you come up with like topic sentences and ideas for each one, because you'd be surprised that the one question that you really like, you don't have a lot to talk about. And so if you kind of brainstorm on each question and you see, oh, darn, like this question, I have all this to write about, like go for that question, because that means that you're going to have a lot to say. And yes, I know and understand it's only 350, but it's going to be juicy and it's going to be the stuff that we want to hear, that admissions wants to hear. So like Santi says, I definitely agree. Don't discard a question, read each question, and then brainstorm each one and see which one do you have more of that meat that the admissions is looking for.
Yeah, and I think, you know, that the way in which that question will surprise you, right? Like, you know, you're surprised, oh, you know, I didn't think this question was going to be the question I was going to answer. Because it's surprising to you, it's going to be surprising to us too. It's going to be like, oh, wow, you know, just that excitement is going to carry, as opposed to something that you already know. You're like, oh, yeah, I know I'm a leader, so, you know, I'm just going to wrap a leadership. But maybe, and you don't think yourself to be a creative person, right? But maybe you are creative, you just haven't thought about it in that certain way that's surprising. And then it can really, well, you know, again, I have found is sometimes the one question that students didn't think they wanted to answer is the one that turned out to be the best response as well. So.
And then this is also a good side of it to just remind you all that question that Santi asked in the beginning, who do you pretend to be? This is where you leave that and really see the question for who you really are. And that's when these ideas and who you really are and all this is going to flow. So that question was so important in the beginning, because it's not who you pretend to be in these questions, it's who you really are and how you became to be who you really are, that you have to think about in each of the questions. And that's crucial in order to get real answers of who you really are, and not these robotic answers that end up being that cliche, right? So it's so crucial to ask yourself that in every question.
Good, thank you, Perla. We're gonna skip this one. All right, so let's now jump into the questions. So we're gonna do the first question first, the required one. And that question kind of looks like that. Does somebody want to read this question, please?
I can read it.
Okay, please.
Okay, it says, please describe how you have prepared for your intended major, including your readiness to succeed in your upper division courses once you enroll at that university.
Thank you. Perla, what's, you know, is there something in here that jumps out at you, like from this, like anything that you know, that you either don't see all the time written in a question, or something that is always written in a question about, you know, about college?
Well, new terms is always stuff that we don't hear, especially because you probably haven't heard it at your community college. So upper division courses. A lot of us didn't know what that meant. I know I had to do my little Google. I love Google to understand what that means, because a lot of us are first gen. We don't know what on earth does that mean, upper division courses. It sounds scary, but it isn't. So that in itself is already a new term that is already being thrown at you, because it's saying in your upper division courses once you enroll at the university. So how is everything that you've been preparing for your intended major, going to prepare you and make you ready to succeed in upper division? So just the terminology.
That's great. And just you hit it right on the head. I think it's not like we're like, if we're outside of like college, we're talking about upper division. Hey, have you done your upper division? And what do you want for dinner? That's not, so definitely that's totally stood out for me as well. Preparing, of course, that preparation, that's an obvious one, right? Of course, your intended major. So I want to say that sometimes students forget to write what they're applying to in the essay. Like, you're reading this essay and you're like, wait, what major is this student? Like, I finished the essay and nowhere in the essay was the major ever mentioned. So make sure you mention the major, just, it makes it easier on the person who's reading it, okay? And of course, just succeeding in those upper division courses. So, again, those upper division courses may be the thing that's not like the most common knowledge. And you're just so right. I mean, like, you do have to be in this culture of college, and particularly for your institutions where there is lower division and upper division courses. Again, at the community college, that's not necessarily something that is necessarily being as common as it would be at a four-year institution, right? I can tell you again, when I used to work in the admissions office, all of us admission officers from all the different UCs and other universities, we always will talk about, well, what is the thing that bugs you the most when you're reading, the responses? And I can tell you what that pet peeve, I mean, like, it's pretty much across the board, what the one pet peeve that all people who read essays would have. When you can tell the person didn't even read the question. Like, you can tell that that person just like, they had an essay somewhere and they just like cut and paste and just put it in there. It has nothing to do with the question. And you can just tell, and you're like, and it's a pet peeve because, we're still required to read it, but we know you just didn't even read the question, right? So that was one of the biggest pet peeves that people who review essays would have, that, where you can tell, like you can just tell that the person didn't even read the question, right? So please read the question. And again, so really important that if there are terms that you don't understand in here, I know we pretend to know it all. I pretend to always know it all, but it's good to ask questions. Sophie.
Oh, there's a question in the chat that was really good. And it was, what if you plan to apply to different majors, to different academic institutions? Do we focus on career or future professional goals instead?
Yeah, you want to use, you could use future goals or career as the thing that ties the majors together, but you don't want to spend all of the time talking about your goals or career. So for example, one of the things I have found, let's say someone who wants to go into medical school, right? And they're applying to biology at UCLA, maybe they're applying under anthropology at another school, and maybe microbiology at a different school, and maybe, at another school they're applying just, as a philosophy major at a different school, right? And then they start writing their response to this, or they write their response to this question, and they're just talking about how they want to be doctors, how they're gonna, they're gonna go to medical school, and how, when they go to medical school, they're gonna like become Doctors Without Borders, and they're gonna travel all over the world. And and I'm like, damn, I want to hang out with this person and travel all over the world with this Doctor Without Borders. But the question's not asked. This is not your medical school application, right? This is your undergrad application that's asking you about the major as an undergrad, right? So what we would want to hear is how any of these options, whether it's microbiology or philosophy, what type of things have you done to prepare for those majors? And maybe you could find that thing that overlaps with all of them, right? Maybe it is that the love of life, right? Philosophy is love of life, right? And that you love life in the way that we philosophize about it and how we actually live it, as human beings, right? So but you focus on the undergrad major. You're not going to write an essay about medical school or being a doctor because you're not quite there yet. You could use that, but you want to use it in a way for you to be able to speak about how any of these different majors that you may be applying to under different schools would get you closer to, and that how you have prepared, and understand that you're able to use and love any of these majors, right? Because we had to get that through, and yes, it's tricky because you are applying to multiple schools, and there are a number of strategies that you can do in that sense. One of them could be, finding out which of the schools are more competitive, and a little bit leaning towards that, right? That can be risky. You can also talk a little bit about each of the majors, but that dilutes the message because you don't have a lot of space to do all of them. So really finding that common ground, I think, that kind of unites all those different majors, for you. Then that would be the thing that I think would be great to focus on as well. And it can be the intersection of all of those different interests that you may have that eventually become, maybe your research question down the road, in graduate school, right? Because you have an interest in philosophy and microbiology, and maybe there's an intersection in there that can create a research question down the road, right? But, again, you need to be able to combine as much as possible and provide information that is not about the career down the road, but really about the next 2 years you're going to be at the university. And
I have a question.
It's doable. Yes.
Jessica. So I have a question. Are these IQs, these PIQs, and the personal statement essays, are we allowed to reuse them in different applications, or do we have to create different ones every time?
No. I mean, that's definitely. I mean, you could reuse them. You just want to make sure that you are responding to whatever that specific question may be. So, for example, in this one,
Right.
we're asking you about a pre-division coursework, for example, right? So, you definitely want to write about that. Maybe another one's going to ask you about, what other outside of the coursework at the campus for the major, what other activities would you be interested in that will complement your major, right? Now you can still use some of this here, but then you will need to add another dimension to that, because now it's asking you not to focus as much on just the classroom experience. It's asking you to also focus on outside of the classroom experience, right? So again, you can reuse them, but you do have to tailor them to whatever the question may be asking you, the specific for that, whatever that question may be.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to add something, and
Yeah.
it's something going back to just even the question, I still do it, and with questions or things that I need to answer, is that question, breaking it down, just like Santi had it highlighted. I actually highlighted it like in a paper, and then I answer each question on itself to ensure that I am answering. And that gives you like wordage, right? And then I check off every time I answer each part of the question, because that ensures that you are answering the whole question. And then all of your ideas, after you break it down, that's when you put it together and you mesh it together. So that's a tip I give you, and I still use it till this day because it helps me. So get your different colored highlighters, highlight every part of the question, take each part, break it down, write whatever answers you're trying to give for that particular thing, and then mesh it together. So that's another tip that I have for you.
What was your undergraduate major, Perla?
Chicana Studies.
Because it was social humanities. Yeah. Because the first time I had to write a sociology paper, it was like this long question with like 4 or 5 different like things that I was asking. And I was so used to the English paper where, you know, they asked you just to focus on one specific topic. You know, it's like one thing that you have. And you're right. You know, exactly what you said. That's what the first time I ever did that highlighting thing was in that sociology question, because I had to like, you know, I had to make sure, because the first paper that I wrote, I got it all kinds of red, you know, all kinds of red. And it was because I didn't answer parts of the question. I think you're so right. That was such a good technique to just like highlight, because then you know where you have answered that. And that's a great way of approaching this too as well. So really cool. So in here I'm showing you, so just because we want to make sure that you understand what upper division as opposed to lower division courses are. So we're giving you 2 specific majors here: English major, which I eventually became an English major here at UCLA, psychology major, which I thought for like a quick second that maybe I was going to go into psychology, but you know, just because I love the intro to psychology course. But then I started taking the psychobiology course, and I was like, no, that's okay, thank you, I'll pass. But as an English major, you know, we were required, the lower division, we were required to take 3/4 of literature in English, and this was only literature from England, or the British Empire, I should say, from 1066 all the way up to the present, which the present for me was the 1980s, you know, so it's not the present, but right, but still it was almost 1,000 years of literature, right? 1,000 years of literature in 3/4. That's a lot of literature. We didn't get in depth in any of the works. You know, it was like a sampling, right? A sampling of all these different genres and periods and authors and what have you, right? But then when I got to my upper division coursework, we did, you know, 3 courses just in Shakespeare, right? So I had to read, you know, I mean, I was reading 1 play a week pretty much for Shakespeare for 3/4, and then the sonnets and some other stuff. And, you know, I got to know Shakespeare more than I wanted to. Okay. So, so that's the difference right there. So lower division gives you a lot of different information, but not in depth. You just get a lot of different breadth of information. Upper division starts to go more in depth, right? So same thing in psychology major, you know, in the 1 lower division course, that's introductory psychology, covers all kinds of different types of psychology that, you know, general, cognitive, experimental, developmental, social, clinical, etc., right? But at the upper division, you take there's 3 courses that are available for just cognitive psychology, right? The way that we process thoughts, right? Cognition, right? So again, there's the introductory that covers a little bit of everything, but the upper division will go much more in depth and will give you much more of the one specific topic, right? So think about it in those terms. What type of experiences have you had, whether it's in the classroom or outside of the classroom, that have helped you or have given you practice in not just getting a lot of bits of information, but focusing on a specific topic and going in depth, right? In so many ways, the personal insight questions are the same way, right? We're not asking just to go, you know how I told you there's the list? That wouldn't be in the survey, the lower division part, right? So the PIQs are the upper division, right? Because now you're going to expand, you're going to go in depth, right? You're going to pick one thing and you're going to focus on that. And we're going to get to know a little bit more about that one thing as opposed to the list, right? Perla.
Yeah, sorry, Santi. There's conversations that we're having with students on the chat. And just a reminder, a lot of you have personal statements or statements from like when you were younger. And this is something that Ariel and our peer advisors are saying is that you change. You're not the same person you were when you were in high school. So if you're trying to recycle stuff, which, sometimes it's cool to recycle stuff, but you really got to read and see, am I the same person? So, and another thing is don't think too much out of what the question is asking, because a lot of you, I think, are asking other things that is not the question. And that's when we'll run into a problem is answer the question. If it's not on the question and somehow whatever it is you're thinking can relate back to that question and the answer to that question, then yes, it does fit in there. But at the end of the day, go back and this is another tip. Always ask yourself, is this answering the question? Am I what I'm writing or what I'm saying, is it answering the question? And always go back to that.
Yeah, I'm so glad you mentioned that because I'll often get that question too. Like, I applied last year, I didn't get in, but I'm gonna apply this next year, and I just want to use my same essay. Well, first of all, if that essay didn't help you in the first year, you do want to improve upon it, right? So that's number one. But number two is that if I happen to be the person that read it, and then I get to read your essay again, and it doesn't sound like you've grown since then, or that you've done anything else that's of impact, then that's not going to create a good impression either. Shelly?
Yeah, one thing that I always kind of tell students, and I use this kind of word over and over again as you're reviewing and editing your essays, is relevance. Is this relevant? Is this information relevant? Is this something that needs to be, it's kind of like a test, right? Like the so what test I sometimes still tell advisors, like, how is this relevant? Going back to making sure you're answering your question, but is the content relevant in the UC application, right? So a little tip there too.
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that the way that we were trained to review essay is, we will read sentence by sentence, and we will and the question that they told us to ask ourselves was, is this valuable? Does this sentence right here add any value to me being able to make a decision about this applicant, right? So definitely that's something that we will do. Ariel?
Yes, just really quickly, Aaron put something really awesome in the chat about how he suggests to structure PIQs. He said something about it being structured like past, present, future, and that's actually a really great way to kind of structure it. I kind of suggest to students to do something a little bit similar. So like in terms of the past, that could be where you're like bringing up like an issue or problem, setting the precedent really quickly at the beginning because you only have 350 words. And then in the middle of it, where he's talking about like the present, you could talk about what you're going through, how you're tackling that, like what you're learning with specifics. And then towards the end, which is future, especially for the intended major PIQ, the required PIQ, it'd be really great to relate that back to like your academics and everything, especially once you transfer over, which is also why Santi's showing like these upper division courses too. So it's great to review the course catalog to see the type of the type of courses you might be taking. And you can generally say like, okay, like this research I did about this, and this, I can apply this, these skills once I transfer over into like a cognitive psych lab, or I take a bio lab or something like that. So you can mention that too in your PIQs.
Yeah, definitely. That's a great way. The triac play. Definitely. All right. We're gonna move on. So as you can see, we spent a lot of time in just one question, right? Because we did break it down. We did want to make sure we understood it. We did want to make sure that we were not including things that were not being asked of us to include in there, right? We wanted to make sure that everything that we had in that one response was going to be of value to the university, right? That was the other thing that was really important. And we want to make sure that, we are helping the reader, just get all the information. We're going to say, yes, I'm going to be a philosophy, microbiology double major. And, I was able to tell the, in the very first statement of that essay, so that the person who's reviewing that essay, they know exactly what they're reading it for, as opposed to, and this has happened many times when I'm reviewing an essay and I'm not quite sure what the, major is. I have to read it 2 times, 3 times to just kind of figure that out. And, if I'm reading your response 2 to 3 times, do you think I'm going to be happy with you? Probably not. And I'm probably going to say this essay is not clear enough. I'm not quite sure with the student what's going with it, right? So again, there's some things that you can just do just to make it very quickly be on the side of the person who's reviewing your essay. Okay. All right. Let's see. We have time. What we're going to do, because we are at the we want to make sure you get a break. I want to make sure I get a break. And my stomach wants to make sure that it gets fed. It's talking to me now. So I want you to think about this next question, the leadership question, right? And I want you, when we come back, as you're, digesting and nourishing yourself, process this question and kind of do the same thing that Perla and I did with that other question, right? We broke it down, right? And we maybe get the highlighter out and, do the highlighter thing, right? Do whatever thing it's gonna work for you, because when we come back, we're gonna come back to this question and we wanna see how you broke it down. All right? That works?
Yes.
All right. Awesome. All right, y'all. Let's take a break. We've been nourishing that brain, but we need to nourish, the rest of ourselves. So hopefully y'all got some good food, or some cup of noodles, that works too. Yeah, we'll be back at 1. We'll have the room open, still open here, and we'll stop